All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to Pathologic 3 Quarantine. This is the demo release for Pathologic 3. It is, from what I understand, like the first chapter or so of the game. This is the Bachelor's route, which is the route many people were waiting for because the Bachelor is a fan favorite character. If you know anything about me, you know that I really love the Pathologic series and Ice Pick Lodge in general. They are sort of an art collective game development studio based in Russia that makes deeply meaningful, extremely cool art games, for lack of a better word. While I have not yet played Pathologic 1 and 2 on the channel, I have played them many times in the past. I have like 150 hours in Pathologic 1 and maybe 100 hours across 3 playthroughs of Pathologic 2. I have been involved in a lot of video essay work for the Pathologic series over the course of my time just on the internet. I've worked on some scripts for some big Pathologic video essays that you may have seen. I made one myself at one point in time. But yeah, Pathologic is great. If you're very interested in Pathologic 3 or in Ice Pick Lodge in general, I highly recommend watching videos by my friend Haley Sulmatul over on YouTube, but also videos by Ragnarox. He recently had a developer interview with the narrative lead for this game, Alfina, also known as Alexandra Golubeva, I think is how you say her last name. But yeah, Pathologic is a very cool kind of detective, narrative, survival, horror, resource management game. They're notable for their very hard difficulty and their extremely heady and beautiful prose. I am hoping that you all enjoy watching this, and I don't believe that you will need to have played either of the other Pathologic games or any Ice Pick Lodge games to understand this, as this is relatively self-contained as an entry point into the series. So, why don't we go ahead and, I guess, get started? I'm really excited for this. We're playing on the intended difficulty. The capital, where Bachelor returned in disgrace after the step town perished. Oh. Okay, so we do have Bachelor vision. Can't remember the name nor the face. Whose reflection are you? They're human, too. Interesting. Play with controller to avoid making noise. Oh, that's really high sensitivity. A fellow of infinite jest, most excellent fancy. There's nothing here. Someone died here. That looks like... So these are some characters from Pathologic 1 and 2. I believe that's Alexander Block and Inquisitor Aglaya standing there in the center. Wow, moving backwards is very slow, but moving forwards is very fast. That's interesting. They added some more simulation elements here. I wonder if this is the academy that Daniil studies at. Maybe, what was it called? Thanatica? Or the Thanatology Center or something? Hour 11. Round and round. Imagine you are a clock's hand, Dankovsky. Hour after hour, closing the loop. Huh. Interesting. I want to see if I can edit sensitivity a little bit. What does streamer mode do? Probably music, right? Okay, that slows down. Okay, so sensitivity is universal then. That's good. That's better. We're gonna keep it all the way down. It's a little bit slow, but makes it easier to control. What are these? Scales. Scalpel. So Dankovsky is also known as the Bachelor. His full name is Daniil Dankovsky. He is a Bachelor of Medicine. And the plot of this game involves him going to a town to investigate an immortal man, only to find out that he's been killed by a plague the moment that he arrived. And much of the mystery of Pathologic involves this plague and what's causing it and how to prevent it, so...
Need to do the reverse transcriptase test again. Pretty sure we missed the heat mark in the 4th series.
Why aren't you at the interrogation yet, Bachelor? You're supposed to be there already. They told me it's not an interrogation, actually. They just want to talk. I'm a witness, not a suspect for now.
Like old Professor Luria used to say, every cobbler should stick to his last.
This is how the game is presented across Pathologic 1 and 2. Characters have kind of talking heads that kind of just say stuff, and then their actual dialogue is on the right here. A sort of dual-purpose presentation. Hang on, Chief, did they summon you because of Thanatica? Will the order to shut the laboratory down be revoked? Postponed? Yes, the order will be postponed. We'll do some work yet, I hope. Why aren't you in quarantine, especially if you're coming straight from the epicenter of the disease? Don't worry, this fever kills in 24 hours at most. Usually it's more like 5. So you're that doctor who first discovered this deadly epidemic. This, dirt disease? Is it true that it killed off a whole step town in a week? 25,000 dead? Listen to me. All of this is just hearsay. Please leave our director alone. He has important work to do, and you, Chief, should hurry off now. Your appointment is at 8. No, answer me this. Since you're the one in charge, is it true or not? You said this disease was already in the capital? Not exactly 20,000, strictly speaking. Fewer. And there were 417 survivors. A scant, but non-zero amount of hope. Oh, that reminds me of The Void. It's a good description. There's a good vibe of what Pathologic is like. Day 8, in which the Bachelor says farewell to hopes and tries to flee the doomed step town. God, I miss the music of this game. You can go no further. Quarantine. I'm so tired of running into obstacles that I created myself. So one of the interesting things about Pathologic is that the dialogue, even though the choices are all separate, these are ostensibly things that you can choose that are like mutually exclusive. If you read them, they do give you more information, right? Enough cawing. It was I who set up the quarantine in the first place. I'm so tired of running into obstacles that I created myself. He's speaking about the information in part 1. And of course, it doesn't present that to us directly. He just knows it. He would know that he set up the quarantine himself. So I'm so tired of running into obstacles I created myself. I didn't recognize you at first glance. You've changed quite a bit after a week in our town. I'm Sava Kremienets, number 72, the last of the Volunteer Orderlies Corps. Since you're here, consider this my resignation. The last volunteer, the last post, the last frontier. How quickly it all came to an end. You promised to save our town, but all you leave behind are ashes and graves. What lies ahead of you is not the step, but a fog of uncertainty. So where will you go now, O man who lost to death? I'll return to the capital. They're shutting down Thanatica, my lab, and the Academy must hear of this dreadful disease. People whisper rumors that the only doctor in town plans to abandon them to flee. The most fortunate, the survivors, already planned their own escapes. Could they be saved? The sand pest should be kept within this town's limits, or else it will devour the whole nation. Some of the survivors might be infected. Quarantine means quarantine. Each decision leads to regret the next day. Each step, the abyss. How can one sleep after that? Vita somnium breve. Nightmares multiply in darkness. It's their nutrient medium, just like blood for a plague. I'm not afraid of nightmares. Reality is much more horrific. The light of salvation burns and then fades, like hope. like someone's life on a hospital bed. Do you think you'll manage to escape? She already follows you, trying to reach you. She won't let you leave. Death? Not that step fairy tale nonsense about monsters again. You're a fool, Bachelor Dankovsky. Conscience. Of course it's conscience. You cannot run from your conscience, not even on a train. No, you'd be lucky to even board that train alive. And what form your conscience assumes, that is on you and your broken imagination. My conscience is clear. I did all I could for the town. One person alone cannot fight an outbreak of an unknown disease. Come back to where you came from, Doctor. Try to become your old self again. Just don't forget the matches. Thank you, 72, if it's really you, for your volunteer service. You too did all you could. Press A to strike and throw a matchstick. What the hell? Prototype charge projectile. Prototype primary mode empty. No weapon. Is that the personification of the plague that Dankovsky is seeing? Are we just pushing it back towards the town? Oh yes, we are. Just trying to see if there's a, if I can open up a inventory menu yet, but I guess not. Oh man. Game is looking very good so far. It actually seems to be running a lot better than Pathologic 2 did as well, which is nice. What is this? The woman's face. And of course we have to walk over a bunch of bodies to escape. I'm going to be ill. The stench. Out, out. Oh god. Is this where Dankovsky gets infected? Or killed? The day before, in which the Bachelor leaves the capital to venture to the edge of the world. Wow, this is only day 2 then? To reflect upon a person or object, look at them. I can do that. Desk drawer. Revolver. A pill to cure the void. We're seeking the cure to old age and death. Wow. This looks a lot like an area from Pathologic 1 as well. Fearless heart to see things through. Glasses without diopters to look older. What happened to her afterwards? Grandmaster in chess with death. They say he stutters outside Thanatica. I wouldn't know what happened to him afterwards. This looks like a screenshot from Pathologic 1 of an area that I don't think really existed.
I think you ought to reread your own early work, Chief, assuming you wrote them yourself.
Do you hear those peculiar footsteps on the stairs? Ominous footsteps. I think they're coming for us. If they catch you here, there's no telling what might happen. You could even be arrested.
A little birdie hops along the path of doom, yet sings its song.
Shall I continue? The ruling goes on. Your Thanatica, the nation's only laboratory specializing in novel life extension techniques, comes across as a pseudoscientific wild goose chase. This so-called effective immortality project. There'll be an inquiry based on our results at the Academy's Special Commission, which, as you know, Karlovich is on. They'll wipe the floor with your Karlovich, and he'll just throw up his hands like he did with the immunology affair last year. He's not going out on a limb for you. Wasn't it him in July going around here saying he was disappointed? Do I have him mixed up with someone? Happens when you're tired. Instead of sarcasm, why don't we try thinking? Sometimes leads to astonishing results. Oh, but there's more. has, according to a number of scientists including Voronin, Zegular, and Vilonovich, achieved significant breakthroughs. We can skip this part. There, in view of the academic council deeming it to lack any prospects whatsoever, the only rational course of action would be to suspend the research, transfer the laboratory to the purview of the Chemistry Institute, and dismiss its staff. I can recite it from memory by now. Perhaps you could retell it in verse, Platon? It would calm you down and put things in broader perspective. I'd sooner lose a wife, an arm, and an eye than Thanatica. And why does it have to be now? We just got a cellular level reaction. I won't let them, it's my life's work. I don't know to what extent you two might say the same. Actually, there is still hope, Bachelor. If we present them that immortal man from the central step. What was his name? Shine? Ivan? Kine. Simon Kine. No time, colleagues, no time. They're already climbing the stairs. Dankovsky, you need to run. There'll be no commission while you're gone. We can stall the proceedings. Go and fetch us an immortal right away. Well, tell them you're away at that trip. For once, the red tape will play into our hands. We'll stall. Reports, audits, you name it, and appeal if all else fails. But if they find you, they'll convene and force us to testify, and we won't be able to wriggle out of it. I agree. If you leave before you're handed the ruling, it's their fault for missing you. But if you wait until afterwards, that's obstruction. They won't miss a chance to hold it against you. They'll use whatever pretext they can. They will anyway. Please, they're academics, not Acrana agents. I see, dear colleague, that you're still laboring under the illusion that it's going to be a purely academic commission. I think the mention of the Ochrana dates the game. That's interesting. Oh, for God's sakes, Platon. Shall we toss them out the window? That's it. They're here? Hear those voices? They must be deciding whose head is hard enough to batter down the door with. Get out. The eastbound train departs at 4:15. You can make it right on time. Thank you. I will not let us down. Oh wait, one last thing. Have a look at this while you're on your way. You've been promising to for 3 months already, but you never found the time. It's a tool for studying tuberculosis. The air humidity thing. Remember? Kaufman, Gorski, Anna Stein. How does it work? There's no time. Take their papers and read them on your way. We have more pressing issues right now. Case in point. When is report S-104 coming in? You know, the cytological. Is he trying to be funny or what? Get out, Chief. Use the back door and don't come back without your immortal. I'll be back in a week. Out cum scuto, out in scuto. So in the Marble Nest's original beta, doors didn't have an animation.
That drives us to overcome death.
Wait, just one more thing. One more? What might that be? Take care of yourself, Chief. You're so reckless. Head always in the clouds. You don't really know how to fend for yourself, do you? Do you even care about yourself? As if you're any different, Seraphima. We're all doomed without you. Please abide by protocol, Seraphima. Enough of this. Are you armed? I'm not fond of weapons. Qui gladio ferit, gladio perit. Daniil, are you armed? I am. Praemonitis, praemonitis. At least I can shoot myself with this if I fail. Have you ever even used it? Please take this seriously. Best I can do is point it at someone and pretend it's loaded. Might not work on the bears, though. Oh, there was a typo there. Well, at least point it then. You can be very persuasive sometimes, Chief. Best of luck to you and Platon, Seraphima. Naika. The belly chai. I can't read any of this. Stivota Aud. Yeah, I can't read Russian.
Freeze!
So from what we understand, I think that the voice acting in this is all placeholder anyway. It's kind of interesting. Oh, this is the step town, I think. Maybe? I could be wrong. Can't read any of this. I wonder if it will be translated for the final. Oh no, this is Thanatica.
I'm Daniil Denkovsky, Bachelor of Medicine. My research into the limits of human life has brought me renown. I've devoted all my energy and remarkable intellect to combating the greatest fear that binds humanity, the inevitability of imminent death. Seeking proof of my theories, I traveled to a small, steep town to examine a person of phenomenal longevity, Simon Kane. But I walked into a trap. The moment I arrived there, an unknown disease struck the town. It devoured the town like a wildfire. Its contagion and lethality surpassed anything humanity had ever faced. And I became the only doctor standing in the way of this unprecedented pestilence.
Wow. So yeah, I think that was a member of the dev team recording that line. So it's going to be a little bit different. Oh, we are being interrogated, Oppenheimer style.
Staying at home, waiting, counting minutes.
So normally when I play Pathologic, I play with the Russian voices because it's a very good vibe. But if I replay them for the channel, I'll probably just use English because that's fun. Let's go back to your testimony, Bachelor Dankovsky. Right. My testimony. Let's try to remain level-headed. The ministerial inspection of your lab, Thanatica, began in early September. Your presence was required at all times. Instead, you dashed off across the country to a backwater town to bring back what might be described as clear evidence that Thanatica's work had potential. I did not flee. Yes, this town had an outbreak of some fever the scientific community had no knowledge of. As luck would have it, you were the only medical professional at the site of the event. You were forced to remain there, since leaving was impossible. You led the effort to combat the epidemic and evidently took on some field research as well. Accurate so far? I still don't see what exactly you're trying to find out. You did not succeed, a complete failure. It goes without saying that one would be foolish to fault a medical specialist in a situation like yours. The remoteness, the lack of communication, the hostile environment, terrible conditions for scientific work. What doctor could have possibly succeeded in those? No one blames you. Precisely. No equipment, incompetent aid, zero authority. Given I'm not an epidemiologist, I did the best I could. I think it's meant to be epidemiologist, but I could be wrong about that. It turns back on the Bachelor. So this game is going to do interesting things with perspective, I'm sure. Holy crap, we get to choose what the guy says. Okay, this is already clever. Pathologic doing pathologic things again. Interesting. So this is the kind of narrative stuff you can expect from Ice Pick Lodge games. Precisely. No equipment, incompetent aid, zero authority. Given I'm not an epidemiologist, I did the best I could. Besides, you were in a state of extreme exhaustion. Add to that the stress of the whole situation around your lab. I said I don't blame you, didn't I, Bachelor, for any of it? Did you hear me? Besides that ordinance from last year. What? What? Did something surprise you? I suppose we can't rule out a setup. Too many coincidences. That letter about Simon lures me to the town. No one shows me Simon. The whole place locks down, trapping me. And while I'm left to die, Thanatica is destroyed just before a scientific breakthrough. My final hours are spent studying the sand pest. Crafty, I must admit. Again, this last thing here is like indicative of the third wall breaking that Pathologic does a lot. Are you alone, Dankovsky? My impression is of countless people occupying the same shell over these past 2 hours, one after another. It's talking about players playing as Dankovsky. I see a worn-out man, unsure whether he's still among the living, a man disassembled. I'm trying to help you put yourself back together. What do you want to know? What I could have done? All right. My first idea was quarantine. Needed time to study the disease, so I isolated patients in their homes. No. I isolated entire districts, tried to get at least a day ahead of it. It was spreading too swiftly, and of course I ensured that no one could leave the town. And the steps you took only shortened the lifespan of this settlement. Ah, you refer to the popular discontent. I didn't need love from them, only discipline. A difficult surgery can't be performed on a resisting patient. That's why patients get tied up, held down, or anesthetized. Every step I took was justified, or the town wouldn't have lasted those 7 days. So the town that we, that Pathologic takes place in, outside of the capital, is called the town on Gorjon. And this is what he's referring to. You spent 12 days in the Gorjon area. The Gorjon is a river. You think so? Let's take a look at the timeline of your decisions, if you can call them that. Map of thoughts, conclusions, and doubts. Oh, so this is a reference to the Pathologic 2 mind map gimmick. Important events happen every day. Select a day with left bumper and right bumper and A to recall what happened. Ah, so we can go day by day. Holy smokes. What is this? Okay, it's making me go back to day 1. Courage, Dankovsky. This Simon Kine is your only chance to save Thanatica. The polyhedron and incredible towers overlooking the bridge square is closed. The entrance is boarded off and it has no bearing on my task anyway. So this is the first choice, I think. She was screaming. Something's happened at the empty lot. One of the poorer districts I can't remember. The bears hid their faces. Met a strange procession near the cemetery in the evening. Obnoxious little town. All right, I guess this is where we have to go. And I can't change things. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of details here. And they all link. Oh, and they like straight up link 2 separate days. And I'm guessing that there are core events that happen on each day. Oop, did I mess it up? How do I move? There we go. And then these are like the special events. Spasmi Mortis, the town's agony nears its final rest. The plague smiles on its ruins. Ava Jan has taken her own life. Because of you, Dankovsky, of course it's because of you. Alright, and this will just bring me back to that day, I guess. The immortal Simon Kine is dead. The sandpest has devoured the whole town. Do I just have to go back to day 1? No. Crack of gunfire. Drunken army goons shoot whichever the way they please. No saving the people. The plague has burned almost everyone. Science can do nothing about this disease. It can't be stopped. Okay, let's just go back to day 1 and trace thoughts. Settled in the Stillwater. A local lady was nice enough to let me stay with her, and this will lead to Ava Jan killing herself. Ava, the Stillwater's owner, the only ray of sunshine in this odious town, took her own life. What have you done, Dankovsky? What have you not?
And last year's demographic survey, Gorkon.
Oh,
Gorkon. Where is it even?
He actually pronounces it Gorkon. Interesting. Because as far as I understand, KH is pronounced H. Gorkon. Gorkon. Granted, I know these are like placeholder voice actors, so. Alright, let's see. No. Well, what are you looking at me? Why are you looking at me like that? As if you're seeing this for the first time. Facts lifted from their context, twisted into new ones. You know, the worst lie is a partial truth. Alright, let's look at the 5th day. Remember, when you seemingly admitted the vaccine was possible, you had volunteers brought to you and inoculated them with sandpest. Are you still with me, Dankovsky? Look me in the eye. Are you here? I am here, but I'm not certainly with you. I'm certainly not with you. I'm not certainly not with you. Huh, typo. Whose testimony do you even base this on? Who slanders my name? Does it matter? You've said enough in 2 hours to not only be fired from your department, but also tried as a criminal. I won't be intimidated. I'm a doctor, a scientist. Do you hear me? I've come back from a hell the phantasms of a nightmare could never portray, and I worked there as a doctor. Do you understand? A doctor. Not an exterminator or inquisitor. Not a police inspector or an army commander. I am a medical professional. You're an intelligent man, Dr. Dankovsky. One with decisive judgment, unafraid to make mistakes and answer for them. I admire you. Enough with that tone. Don't you grow tired of it yourself? Put this on record. That backwater didn't have a hospital. Understand? It did not have a hospital, but it did have a theater, so I repurposed it somewhat into a hospital. I studied patients there. Creating a vaccine was the priority. That's what I did. I vaccinated people. And in the end, the town died out. Creating a vaccine isn't as simple as brewing a cup of tea. The disease mutated fast. The scientific community had never seen anything like it. I had to create a vaccine every day. Do you understand? A new one each time. All the while, I had no equipment, no lab. I had to improvise new methods in a matter of minutes. A theater. Let's talk more about the 5th day after you arrived. So this game is non-linear, and you end up going between days to figure out. Ooh, I got an achievement. That's cool. I thought I turned off notifications, but I guess not. I should probably just turn off the Steam overlay. Day 5, in which the Bachelor winds up the people and has to rewind. Okay. Open the mind map. We're on day 5. So our goals are marked each day. Today. 5th day in the town. 3rd one at the hospital. The plague runs rampant. I still hope to find a vaccine, but for now only the quarantine protects people. Outside lies the step town I never should have come to, but I have work to do inside. Diagnose the sick. Tragedian. Signor, you're here. Upon the stage once more. The man who made a hospital out of the theater will have eyes on him aplenty. Do you know what the orderlies behind your back are whispering? I don't care about gossip, so long as it doesn't distract the orderlies from their duties. Your servants will be fine, Signor. Will you? They say you have a seesaw on your head. They picture you a man atop a board, atop a barrel, gun in hand, aiming as you roll and teeter to and fro. A seesaw on your head is interesting. That relates to the void. A seesaw inside my head. Maybe the rumors have a little truth to them. Is that talking about fan theories? Extremes, Signor. Extremes can kill you dead. One moment mired in apathy, the next in mania, trying everything at once. You're caught between your pounding heart and your 2 hesitating feet. A man of impulse, yet sometimes paralyzed. That there is your seesaw. Fair enough criticism, but how else could I be? As we stand here in the old theater, let me play the doctor and prescribe balance. The golden mean, though you may yet be swept to Skula or to Charybdis. And even now, what do you feel? As soon as you approach the sick, indifference and gloom begin to burden you. So much talking with no practical use. Give me your impression of a prescription if you fancy yourself a doctor. The strongest treatment is right here. The same we use to numb the hopeless and sick. These drugs may work for you as well. But mind that as you take them, you become accustomed to them, and you'll need more and more each time. I'm perfectly aware of that. But there are other ways as well. A drink and a smoke, perhaps. Things you may not expect can stabilize you. To warm yourself by the fire, or wash yourself in cool water, even kicking a trash bin in frustration. You will know what helps you best. You are a scientist, so experiment. Yes, I should be looking to keep myself together with the bare minimum. I can't afford to lose focus when dealing with patients. And yet it wouldn't hurt to take some pills with you. Who knows what madness lies ahead. Take something from the hospital supplies. Besides the other fronts you struggle on, there is the struggle with yourself, Signor. What could be harder? You actors do love to exaggerate. Huh? Whoa, cool effect. If you think you're seeing something terrifying, it's always just people in masks. They're just people in masks. They'd pass for a Greek chorus if this were a tragedy, but it's all vaudeville. Okay, casebook. First, select the patient's suspected symptoms and choose the appropriate diagnosis. Some symptoms may be incorrect. Okay. Strychnine, a poison, which is the same as medicine, invigorating in small doses. Addictive, with each use, the effect becomes weaker. Mania plus 70. Tobacco. It is believed that cigarettes have a calming effect, but in fact, nicotine is a stimulant. Addictive, with each use, the effect becomes weaker. Bromide increases inhibition in the cerebral cortex. In other words, dulls the brain. Sometimes that's exactly what I need. Apathy. Interesting. Okay, so he is apathetic. What am I doing? I don't know how to use the medication yet. Hospital. Patients must be questioned, examined, and their systems recorded in the casebook. Oh, that's Artemy. Interesting. Okay. Vaccine. To create a vaccine, more correct diagnosis of the disease intercurrent with the sandpest are required. Okay. Notes. Is this just a place where I can... Oh my god, can I type notes? I can't. I'm not sure what to do. Okay. Die of apathy. Oh my god. Interesting. Just go through. Again. Sava Kremyenets, number 72. I'm an orderly on quarantine duty. What are your instructions? Right, Sava Kremyenets. Here are your orders. Take a dozen trusted people with you. I'm reassigning you to the cemetery. Burials, cremations, and all that. You're dismissed. I'm here to raise a collective complaint, Doctor. These cloaks, they're very uncomfortable, sir. They make it hard to use our hands, and you can't see a damn thing through the mask. On top of that, we have to burn them every night, because each time we've been to an infected area... On the upside, they make you very visible. They also grant you a gravitas that commands respect, and raises your prestige as volunteer orderlies. Marat Tikaikin, number 28. Started my shift at 10. What's our plan for today, Doctor? There's only ever one plan. Every effort goes toward the vaccine. Right now, we're going to identify the strain. We've been catching those longs, as you instructed. You know, the rare cases where they get infected but resist the sandpest for a long time. Oh my god, it's literally about COVID. I played Pathologic 2 again during the pandemic, and it was crazy. It was a really interesting experience. We've got 3 again for today, over there on the platform. What the hell? I told you yesterday that they have to be kept separate. No contact between them. How was that unclear? Well, of course it was clear. Why wouldn't it be? Well, what do you do with them now, though? Shall I take them away? It's better than nothing, if only barely. A tuft of wool off a useless sheep. Doctor, last night we had a chat amongst ourselves, and there's something we don't get. What's, like, the point of figuring out what those longs are sick with? Besides the sandpest, they're gonna die either way. How does it help us if we figure out that they also have anemia, or I don't know, measles? On top of that earthen plague, I mean. To make it this as simple as possible, the body wages wars. Whenever there's a disease, it sends its soldiers into battle. Sometimes those soldiers help fight other diseases along the way, including undiagnosed ones. Okay, so my apathy isn't actually high anymore. Not really sure how that works, but we'll deal with it later. Patients must be questioned, examined, and their symptoms recorded in the casebook. All right, let's talk to Artemi. This is the protagonist of Pathologic 2, the Haruspecs.
Without luck, you can't catch a fish in a flood. Without love, you can't divine truth from blood.
It looks broken, Erdem. It's not broken, you just don't know how to use it. Made any major advances on that vaccine of yours, Oinen? They say precision instruments help with that kind of thing. Major enough. As a matter of fact, I believe today's work will be decisive. And our situation every day is decisive. But so far, the days, not we, have been making all the decisions. What's with the pessimism? Did you pick that up from me? Wordplay is not your strong suit, Barach. You should stick to quipping in your mother tongue. Hanad urni khurshene. What? I've done the autopsies for you already. Numbers 1 had 3, and 3 had gunk in their lungs. Number 2 had it in her bronchia. Are you saying it's pulmonary now? I'm not saying it's anything. I do the cutting, you do the thinking, right? I have my own storyline where I'm going to do what I deem right. You'll have only a small part to play. What a bombastic way to put it. But I'll remember that and drop by your storyline sometime, though I doubt it will be useful. Yakov Little. Could it be yesterday's technique has proved to be the right one? As your assistant, it is my duty to inform you that among the recipients of yesterday's vaccine, there appears to be 0 mortality. That is to say, no notifications so far. It doesn't really tell us anything yet, but let's assume at least some have avoided the infection. It's a real shame we can't put them under proper observation in the isolation ward. Would have simplified things a lot. You're not my assistant, Mr. Little. Oh, oops. Blah. I've been reading his dialogue wrong. You're not my assistant, Mr. Little. More of an extra pair of shoulders with no great burden to bear. I'm not going to be an asshole to him. That doesn't really tell us anything yet, but let's assume at least some have avoided the infection. While you were away, I tried my hand at diagnosing using your procedure. Really? I do hope you didn't mistake measles for pneumonic plague, colleague. So I noted down symptoms using your approach. I crossed off illnesses based on the principle of impossible combinations, but I didn't really get anywhere. You know, sometimes I try to think like you do. Give it my best try at that. I do this just so I can understand you a little. And I fail every time. The way your heads work is complete mystery to me. Do you have the anamnesis? I went straight to physical exam. I'll say it again. Getting the patient's medical history or anamnesis is your first priority. There are strictly 3 steps. Step 1, interviewing the patient. It always comes first. No matter how tongue-tied or confused they are, no matter how much they get wrong, the information is priceless. Even if they're straight up lying, it's still important. Just like if you were an investigator or a detective. Yes. You were somehow managing to learn useful things even from their lies, but I have no idea how. Step 2, the exam. This part requires your utmost attention. And when we take note of anything suspicious, we do it in the context of what a patient has told us. Any trifling bodily detail, a scratch, a bruise, a birthmark, might turn out to be important. Turns out to be important. Got it. In step 3, if required, a careful inspection of the surroundings the patient lived in, especially when you feel they're being coy, evasive, hiding something. In a word, lying. Reticence is never without a reason. That's when it becomes a good idea to go and inspect their home. Talk to your neighbors and family. It always adds to the picture. Do you understand? Yes, I understand, thank you. Then let's get down to it. I'll show you, observe and memorize. I won't be around forever. Alright, what's the personal file? Are these in the casebook? Yes. Okay. Shopkeeper married, 33, date of admission, 5th day of the plague, residence in the flank, harmful habit smoker, clinical picture, fever. Okay, and we have like multiple... Okay. I'm healthy, just so you know. I don't have anything. Why did they bring you here then? I had fever, that's why. 2 days of it for no reason. But I'm better now. I had no scratchies on my skin, no yellowing, no sandpaper scratchies, no drought of the mouth. Have you been to the isolation ward? Our house was cleared out after the infection came. People were sent wherever there was space. Comfort is a luxury right now. Some were lucky and ended up in an empty living room. Some got an attic or a cellar. Us, we were put in a boiler room. When it reached our street, they rounded up the whole caboodle of us to the isolation ward. Boiler room, you say? Was it turned on? Of course, the air was so stuffy in there, I tell you. But there was a silver lining. No sickness can survive that hellfire. Convincing, but I'll still need to examine you. Please undress there behind the screen. Rarely leaves her home. Not much time in the sun. Physical exam. The patient must be examined and their symptoms added to the casebook. Open the casebook. This can be done during the examination. Okay, hold on. Seeing anything. Back. She doesn't look like she's been hurt. Oh! Her arms. Hematoma. Maybe she bumped into something. Maybe it's a symptom. Should I ask where the bruise came from? Skin redness. That's what that is. Nothing. Legs. Not seeing bumps. Legs reverse. It's definitely redness. Would we call this yellowing of the skin? I guess not. She said no. Oh, it's hematomas. Remove skin redness. Hold on. Okay, so I need to rule out things. Okay. So what did she say? Oop. Nope. Yellowing of the skin, she did not have. She did not have a sore throat. Very pale skin. What is stone disease? I don't know what that is. What is cyanosis? Is cyanosis, let's Google this. If I was an actual doctor. A bluish discoloration of the skin and mucous membranes. I mean, maybe. I'm gonna put that down. Because she is very pale. Can I just listen to her talk again? You done with the exam, doctor? Can I go now? She doesn't have redness on her face. Absolutely not. An examination with no questions asked can only happen at a morgue. I told you everything the last time, but if you say so, you're the doctor. Come here, Mr. Little. Let's fill this patient's record together so that at least a modicum of knowledge settles in place in your head. You called, Mr. Dankovsky? I'm here and ready to heed. So, Mr. Little, we have a patient here. She's claiming to be in good health, despite having had a fever a few days ago. Do we take her word for it? Well, if she's had fever, there must be reason for it, and we have to find it. Remember this, a patient's self-evaluation may be incorrect. That's why you must ask specific questions about the symptoms, about what's come up during the exam, and about the patient's circumstances in daily life. Questions, but how do you connect the answer to a diagnosis? I'll demonstrate. Observe and learn, Mr. Little. I won't be around forever. The patient is running a temperature, in other words, a fever. Open my casebook, look up fever, and tell me, how many conditions is it listed as a symptom of? Influenza, burning fever, consumption, measles, tularemia. She can't even read I can't even read the one after that. An absolute tongue twister. Sheesh, there's so many of them. 8 diagnoses fit the bill. It's a frequent symptom, which means that you have to find others and narrow down the search. Then do it again and again until you're left with just one verdict. This, Mr. Little, is what's known as a differential diagnosis. The name is self-explanatory. We differentiate between similar things to find the only correct solution to our problem. Can't wait to give this method a try. Let's get down to it then. You look pale, ma'am. Has your skin been like this since birth, or is this pallor recent? It's not like I get to look in the mirror a lot, living in a boiler room and all, but I don't think I've ever been pale. Rich do-nothings are pale. Me, I'm a commoner. So pallor isn't typical for you. We're marking that as a symptom, Mr. Little. Add pallor to the fever in the record. What do we get? I'm sorry, Mr. Dankovsky, I can't look at the manual and follow your line of thought at the same time. A single symptom, pallor, eliminated 6 out of our 8 candidates. We're left with a choice of just 2. Where did this hematoma come from, good lady? I mean the bruise over here, next to your wrist. Did you bump into something? Or is there someone who batters you? Don't worry, there's nothing to be embarrassed of when seeing a doctor. I'm not embarrassed. A bruise? Well, that's news to me. I've never seen it before, and I can't remember anything like what you're talking about. I certainly wasn't beat up. She probably was. I must have bumped into something myself and forgotten about it with all the fuss. The boiler room is dark and cramped. That's probably what the bruise is from. Mr. Dankovsky, I'm seeing this hematoma, this fancy bruise on your list. Are you with us, Mr. Little? Pay attention. She doesn't remember how she got the bruise. She can only guess. The manual provides a more detailed description of the illness for a situation like this, what causes it, who's susceptible, etc. Can give useful clues. Got it. When in doubt, read about the condition in detail. Practicing medicine takes more than checking symptoms against a list with a schoolboy's diligence. You have to bring your reasoning into it. Here's one way to do it. Tell me, my good lady, do you garden? Do you grow anything? Anything at all, from roses to cucumbers? Cucumbers? Roses? I'm not following you at all now, Doctor. No, I've never liked digging and shoveling earth and all that. There, earth. Does the boiler room you've been relocated to have an earthen floor by any chance? That's right, it does have an earthen floor. The boiler room isn't really suited for living in, but in these times I'd be ungrateful to complain. How did you guess, Doctor, about the earthen floor? Earth. There was something about earth in the manual. Wish I could remember where. It's simple. All kinds of things can be found in your local soils, including microorganisms capable of disrupting circulation, hence the pallor. The bruises were not caused by trauma. A hematoma appears when blood vessel walls are damaged, either by an external force or, as in this case, an illness, and the infection can be contracted from contact with earth. We found our diagnosis. You're a genius, Mr. Dankovsky. We're lucky to have a simple and clear case on our hands. I can foresee it's going to get worse from here. Bravo to you anyway. You're a true master of medicine. So the patient has a sandpest alongside... What's the other diagnosis? I'm going to fill in the patient's record now, and you can read my verdict. What about me, Doctor? Where am I to go now? What happens next? You'll remain here under observation, and your blood will be used for the vaccine. There's hope that everyone can benefit from this. Alright, so we have to mark her diagnosis. Paleness. It wasn't cyanosis. She has a hematoma and paleness. She said she didn't have a sore throat. How do I guess I have to look over. I have to use the mouse, maybe? Oop. How do I do this? I have to check my controls because the thing wasn't popping up. Inventory, notes. Where's my casebook? N. Okay. All right, here we go. Anemic vasculopathy, an infectious disease caused by microorganisms from steppe soil entering the bloodstream. Cases of airborne transmission are also reported but require confirmation. The infection leads to anemia, which can manifest as patient pallor, muscle weakness, and weight loss. She doesn't have red eyes, though. What's the other likely? It was 2, wasn't it? There were 2 diseases that had the same symptoms. But she doesn't have red eyes. That's drinking, bad stuff, Twyrin syndrome. Again, red eyes, but she doesn't have those. She doesn't have any of these symptoms. So does it auto-organize the ones that are similar? All right, let's say lock diagnosis. Interesting. So we have our first diagnosis.